everyone, or welcome back to part two of the September reset. Um, how these working is we've got 8 sessions. This is the second one, and the other replay from last night is now live in the membership, and this one will go up tomorrow morning, tomorrow lunchtime, depending on what my internet is doing. This internet does seem to be better than the last house, but it's still a little intermittent. Still not ideal. However, I have been notified that next year we're meant to be getting the gigabyte Y fiber gig fiber, whatever's the new thing. Our area has been approved for it, and they're just waiting to see how many houses in each area are interested before they actually do the work. So hopefully I'll get like mega super speedy internet, and my videos won't be quite as blurry and weird and hard to upload. But today's one was much quicker to upload. I was like putting it off because I normally takes forever, but so that please that. So tonight we're going over start, stop, and stretch habits. I will also put up tomorrow, when I put this video up, a little PDF that you can use with this. But to be honest, a piece of scrap paper and a pencil also works quite nicely. So we think that like we decide to start a habit, it's going to be really easy, and we just pick which habits we want to do and off we go. Or we like look at these people that have got all these amazing habits and think, wow, I wish my habits were like that. But the majority of people don't naturally come to having the habits that they want. Often they are things that we inherited from friends or family that we grew up with and how they lived, or they are things we've learned from responses to traumatic experiences, or unfortunately it seems to be a lot easier to grow a negative habit than it does a positive habit, but a lot of them are sort of emergency response type things, or things that have been drummed into us. And the one I go back to is teeth. Like we all had to be pestered to brush our teeth when we were younger, but somehow we did make it stick in the end, and the majority of us don't tend to lose that. I will admit I'm one of those people that has lost that in the past. I do have to remind myself sometimes to brush my teeth, particularly now that my toothbrush and bathroom are upstairs and my bedroom is downstairs. And going to bed just seems so easy. And the fact I'm walking past my bedroom to go to the upstairs feels like a lot of effort. But I still remember, somehow still remember. And so we can actually make conscious decisions to stop certain habits and bring in new habits. It is generally really hard to just stop a habit. What we want to do is look to replace it with the more positive version, or when I say positive, I mean a habit that's more in line with who we are and how we want to show up. So someone might say, well, actually, I want to stop going out so much, because for them that's a negative habit. But someone else might say, I want to start going out more because I'm not being very social, and I would like to be. And it's the same habit. It's just not right for one person. It is right for the other. And someone who's like addicted to going to the gym might be like, I need to only go 3 days a week. And someone's like, I need to start going twice a week. Like it's literally how you look at it, how you frame it, and what you want to be doing with your life, and to make sure that you are living your best life. I wish someone would come up with a new phrase for that. The life aligned with who you are is more accurate, but it's a bit of a mouthful. Doesn't flow quite so well. But never mind. So we've got start. Start is literally habits that you want to start. It doesn't have to be something that's completely brand new. It could be something that you've used to do and sort of fallen out of the habit of doing, but it's something you want to start back after the September reset. That part of the September reset is you want to start this habit again. The one that springs to mind for me is my water intake, partly because there's a lot of fizzy water at the moment, fizzy flavoured water, which comes in bottles and it's plastic that I don't like and things like that. So yes, I've drunk water before. Yes, drinking X amount of water every day has been a habit before, but I'm starting afresh. Fine. So that would still be a start habit. Thinking about also the stop habit. So when we do the stop habit column, you may then also jump back to the start habit column, because you're thinking of what would counteract. So the wanting to stop drinking fizzy water would be in my stop column. Wanting to drink water would be my positive one that links. So what I would say is, if you do, as you're writing a stop habit, think, this matches with that one I wanted to start. Just write like a little matching either number or letter next to it. So if you're going through and you're like, I want to drink less Coca-Cola, and you're like, right, that's A. That goes with in start, I've got drink more water, that's going to be an A. So I'm going to match those two up. You don't need to always use so a start habit doesn't have to always replace a stop habit, but a stop habit should pretty much always have a replacement. Just not doing something is going to be so much harder. Not impossible, but I would always try and pair it with something, particularly if you're starting. So even like quit smoking, it might be that you are I'm going to knit for 5 minutes. Every time I would have had a cigarette, I'm going to knit something that, because smoking is a very hands related thing. So I'm going to eat an apple. So then it's combining the hand and mouth stimulation of the cigarette, you're swapping for something else. So even if it's maybe like, actually long term, I don't care if I knit for 5 minutes, but to help replace that habit, that's what I'm going to do. So it could be that instead of staying up late watching Netflix, you're like, I'm going to go to bed and read a chapter of my book each night. You might be like, actually long term, I'm not worried if I read it each night. I just don't want to be going to bed at 11, 12 o'clock. And when you get into bed at 10 and read a book, you will fall asleep a lot quicker. And you will find yourself a couple of pages in, nodding off at like 10:15. Whereas if you get into bed and put Netflix on your laptop on your lap, speak from experience, 4 hours later, you're still there. And the whole series has been watched. So it could be that the stop habit is replaced with something, but that you're quite happy to let go of the positive, that replacement one eventually. It can sort of phase out. It's not so much about achieving that new habit as making it easier to get rid of the stop habit. So coming up with what's going to be that. So I want to get up earlier again. I'm not too far off now, particularly with school run, I have to. But I need to have a good morning routine is going to be my replacement habit, which is convenient because we are doing a whole evening talking about morning routines and a whole evening talking about evening routines, because they're obviously quite big ones. But we will do that another day. So that could be one of the start habits, is a good morning routine, and that could be counteracting something that you don't like doing in the morning, or vice versa for the evening. And then stretch habits. Most of us, because we're human beings, if something isn't challenging enough, we often won't do it at all. If it appears too easy, we won't do it at all. So it could be that a habit we have started we're struggling to maintain, or we're not as consistent as we like to be, and maybe we need to stretch it to make it more maintainable. Now, stretching it could be stretching it out of shape, so changing the shape slightly, or it could be making it bigger, like expanding it as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to make it harder, it's just changing its shape, stretching it to make it that little bit more appealing. So if we stick with the water consumption thing, it might be, instead of saying I need to drink X amount of water in a day, is saying I want to drink X amount of water by lunchtime. And then you've got more of a challenge, that shorter time frame to do it. Or instead of reading a chapter, you're going to read 2 chapters. The one I remember from last year was I wanted to do a book a month, so 12 books in 12 months. And the first few books I picked, I flew through and read really quickly. And so I'd done 4 or 5 in like the first 2 months. And so I stopped reading because I was like, oh, this is easy, I'll get this done, no problem. So I had to up it to 22, but I stretched it to 22 and 22. And then I actually achieved it. Whereas if I'd left it at 12, I don't think I'd have done it. So it can be those little adjustments there. Another example would be, maybe if you're thinking about common goals are always like water, reading and fitness, aren't they? So your fitness one, you're like, I wanted to go to tennis once a week, but actually you're finding that hard to maintain. You go every couple of weeks. You're like, I'm going to go to one of these three activities once a week. So you've stretched it, you've made it a bit more interesting because you can pick. Like I'm going to do tennis, swimming, or boxing. Literally couldn't think of anything then. Tennis, swimming, or boxing. Each week, one class each week, and that's going to be my way of stretching it to make it that more appealing. Or maybe it is literally that you're finding it, you're like, actually, I'm really pleased with my progress, and it's not anything about needing to keep it going, but you're ready to just take on that next level of challenge. You might be like, actually, I'm doing pretty good at this. I think I like this. I want more of this in my life. So that would be another one to do with stretch. So what I tend to do, I'm going to do some beautiful drawing now, and then it's going to blur out on the screen, isn't it? If I hold it in front of my face, does it not blur? Then I can't see what he's doing. No. Oh, wait, I'm there. There you go. Okay. If I go there, you can see it. Really complicated drawing. I mean, it's in detail, depth details, 3 lines. And then we're going to write start, stop, and stretch. Really complicated. So start, stop, and stretch. Now I've got to angle it so it seems to like it if I tip it back like that. Beautiful. Start, stop, and stretch. And I'm not going to separate the bottom section into 3 rows, but I, as always, break it into those 3 simple categories of life. We've got personal, professional, and family, friend, home, just to give us some little bits of prompts for what we're thinking about. So you could just write that at the side of the page to remind yourself. And you could do this forever, but maybe look at setting a sort of 10-minute timer for each section. So you work sort of maybe just 10 minutes on starts, 10 minutes on stops, 10 minutes on stretch. Could be that you do 10 minutes on home, 10 minutes on personal, 10 minutes on professional, however you want to split it up. But I would set a timer, so you've got that bit of a parameter. But don't worry about overthinking it like too much, and then leave it out somewhere where you can add to it for the next couple of days. And so while the whole of the September reset, you don't need to worry about it too much. We will reference it in the other sections, but feel free to keep adding to it or taking away from it, because I often find that when you sit down to write the goals and write the habits, that we like make all these plans, and then we're like, how do I put that? Like someone said an example. I remember the first time I did an inspiration board, like a vision board for the year, and the lady that was running it was very materialistic. Fine for her, very material. So she was like, yeah, I'm putting a handbag and this kind of car and this and this and this on it. And I was like, I have zero interest in those kind of things. But because I was doing my vision board while I was in the session, I was accidentally influenced into thinking, oh, well, I'll just look up a bag I like. It was a bag I liked, but it wasn't really the vision of my life that I was particularly interested in any way, shape, or form. So I think having it out and allowing yourself to add on or take off over the next few days can be really beneficial. And like I said, matching up the starts and the stops. So you can either put 1 and 1 or A's and B's, however you want to do it. And it's not that A is more important than B. It's literally that you're pairing them together. And if you have 1,000,001 coloured Sharpie pens, like me, you could literally do coloured dots and match them. It's just making them into pairs so that you can see that each of the stop habits has got a replacement. And then if you've got any things that you want to stop that don't match up with anything at the start, think of something positive that you could do to just as part of helping you stop that habit. And then for stretch, you don't necessarily need to pair them up. But I do think it's important to understand whether it is start, stop, or stretch, why you want to do the thing and what the parameters of the thing are going to be. So once you've let this sit for a couple of days and you feel like you're happy with what you've got on it, is do 3 separate pages, a start, a stop, and a stretch, where you go through, and for each one that you're definitely going to work on moving forward, is to write a clear statement of what the parameters of that habit is. So what is like the bare minimum requirements or whatever it is of that habit. You can also do like have like a, what's a word that I used to use for this, but like a flexi habit. I don't know why it's gone out of my head. It used to be a phrase that I used to use for it. So you've got a little bit of variation within a habit that you want. So if you're having a really good energy day, you might do the hardest version of that habit. But if you're having a really hard day, that you've got a minimal version that you can still achieve and be like, yes, I've still done it. So fitness being the example, particularly if chronic health issues or injuries or anything like that, is like the bare minimum might be that you're going to go for a 10-minute walk, but an hour and a half spin class might be your extreme. And it doesn't matter which one you do, you'd still count that as a tick. So you have a little bit of flex in there. Just if life is generally crazy or anything, it's having little bits of parameters. If you want to have that bit of stretch within the habit already built in, you could do that. Or you could just be like, no, this is the one definition, this is all I want to do. I'm not going to worry about making it harder and easier. And that's usually because you know at the moment you need to go for the easier option. So it could be that you're like, no, I'm going to just read a page a night. I'm not going to be like, I'm going to read a page to a chapter. Because I do also find that, particularly with a new habit that you've never done before, it can be very tempting to go really, really hard at the beginning, and then we just burn out. And there was this really wonderful story I read a couple of years ago about this chap that had always struggled to get fitness in his life. Just everything he tried never worked. And so he set himself a goal of he was literally going to go to the gym for 5 minutes every day. And he would put his kit on and he would go in for 5 minutes. And whether he wanted to stay or not, he would leave after 5 minutes. And eventually went consistently for a period of time. Can't remember what it was now. And then eventually he went for 10 minutes. And he built it up so slowly. And it had been years by the point of this story, he'd written this story. And it was that he still goes every day. And some days it was to have a stretch and things. And some days it was to do a workout. But he'd made it a habit. And for him, it had to be every day. That's the other one I find quite interesting, is people are like, oh, you don't have to work out every day. But if it's a habit you've really, really struggled with your entire life, then actually making it a daily thing and making it smaller but daily might be a really positive thing for you. Like working out hard every day of the week, not going to be ideal unless you're trying to be an extreme endurance athlete. But if you're going to the gym and being like, right, this is the day where I go and I stretch and I have a gentle swim. Even I've seen some people, they go every day, but one of those days will be to sit in a cafe and have a chat with a friend over a smoothie. But because they go every day, it's part of their routine and it helps keep them locked in. Because these things that other people make look easy, it's not natural for everyone. Or they are trying really, really hard and just know what you just don't know. You don't know what the struggle is in the background. So it's, people are always like, when I go through my phases of going to the gym every day, and they're like, wow, you go every day. And I was like, no, I go every day because otherwise I wouldn't go at all. That's the chapter I'm in at the moment. It's all one extreme or the other. So don't be afraid if you need to make something a bit more repetitive, just to make, I think that's why brushing our teeth does become so much more natural, because we do it twice a day, every day, and it's right before bed, right as soon as you get up. So it's paired with something as well. We've like matched it with another habit of getting out of bed, and then we go and brush our teeth. Or some people do it after, they'll do it after breakfast and after dinner, and that's their match. We naturally pair it with something. But then when we try and bring another habit into our life, we don't think about pairing it with something. And so in your start habits, particularly, when you do the page just about your start habits, you've written those definitions, you might want to pop in what you're going to pair it with as well, to help make it easier, like what's going to support you with that one. So I would have it on I don't know why I'm showing a blank page, but have it on a separate blank page. So you'd be your start habits, and then for each habit, you've got your habit definition, And then you're going to have your support system, I guess is probably the best word. What's going to be your support system, and pairing, things like that, your trigger, your accountability, all those kind of different bits and pieces that would help support making sure that that habit's going to happen. I'm writing this down now myself. This is what's going on the PDF, so maybe that's what I'm writing down, so I remember to put it on. So I'll drop that in tomorrow, and I'll drop it into the WhatsApp group as well. And then with all the habits, whether it's start, stop, or stretch, obviously you need your habit definition for all of them, but your support system you might not need for all of them. But yeah, to be fair, you probably can put a support system in, because like for stop, part of your support system is what you're starting. So what you're replacing it with would be part of your pairing and your starting and things, and your accountability. So yeah, pop it in with stop as well. I've always done it with start and stretch, but not stop. But actually, you kind of do it with stop anyway. And then I'm brain gone. Oh yeah, your why. That's what we're talking about. And then your reason why. Like, why is it that you want to stop this? Because I find this is a really good way of tapping back into the motivation each time. Because motivation doesn't last very long. It's fleeting. It's like a fish's memory, goldfish memory. And if we've written down and we've been very clear with ourselves, like in the moment, this is why I decided that this habit was important enough for me to write down. This is why I want this in my life. When you're having that moment, oh, I really can't be bothered, or I don't want to do this, or why did I decide this was a good idea? You can look at your piece of paper and be like, there you go, that's why. I know why. I've written it down. I've reminded myself why I wanted to do this. So being nice and clear and sort of detailed with yourself of why is this important, and why does this matter to me? So we don't need a million start habits. We don't need to stop a million habits and stretch a million habits. It might be that it's just sort of one or two in each, that we really want to sort of nail for the last quarter of the year. And often it's ones that will have the biggest impact. Because we're looking at it, we're like, oh, only a quarter of the year left. What will make the biggest impact? Don't overload yourself by thinking, oh, right, I'm going to have 20 in each section. Like, if you've got one in each section, that's great. It's lovely. I think most of us have got one thing we want to start, one thing we want to stop, and one thing we want to stretch. But it's finding what's going to have the most positive impact on everything you're doing. And I think that harps back to that book, The One Thing, which is a very long way of saying do the one thing that by doing so will make everything else either easier or irrelevant. And so thinking about that kind of concept when you're looking at this 1,000,001 habits that you would ideally like to start, it's like, well, which one would have the biggest positive impact? So for me, I think my biggest positive impact one would be my water at the moment, particularly with this heat, because I know that everything else goes better when I'm hydrated. Like, I'll work better. So even if I wanted to achieve more with work, I should first and foremost drink more water. If I wanted to be a nicer person, I should first and foremost drink more water. If I want to be a better mum, if I want to be a better friend, if I wanted to go to the gym more, if I wanted to be healthier, all of them, everything. I can't think of anything in my life that wouldn't be improved by water consumption. Literally nothing. My skin would be better, like everything would be better. So that would be my one thing. By doing that one thing, a lot of things would naturally be improved. So the fact that I'd love to have a habit of going and having a facial every month. I used to, pre-baby, London life, pre-baby, mainly to get all the alcohol out of my system from all the things you do when you live in London pre-baby, all the craziness. But realistically, it's not going to happen. And actually, I'm out in the fresh air. I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. If I drank a lot more water, I would pretty much negate the need to have a facial. So there you go. I'd love to have a habit of having a massage every month, but time and money can't do that either. So, but if I drank more water, I'd be less stiff and less sore. I'm more hydrated. Literally, can't think. I will work on it. I'll try and think of something that isn't improved by drinking water. But for me, that would be my major one thing, which means my stop one would be to stop drinking so much fizzy water, fizzy flavoured water, and mocktails. Aldi brought out some very good summer mocktails, pina colada, strawberry daiquiri, and a mojito. And I'm a bit scared to go back to Aldi in case they've still got them, because I bought quite a lot in the last shop and drank them all very quickly. And I was like, I'll just have one glass each night. No, very tasty. Yeah, to stop drinking drinks like that would be really beneficial to me and would benefit all areas. And then my stretch one would probably be to make sure that I start the day with a big glass of water. So I'm starting the day hydrated, because then I'm going to start the day with improved skin, better concentration, being a nicer person. And if I've started the day drinking water, I'm more likely to continue it for the rest of the day. So literally that one major thing could be all 3 columns, which doesn't feel too overwhelming, because in theory it's just one habit that you're working on, but it falls into all 3 sections. And so, truly understanding your why. Why is it important? It's like, because I want this in my life. I want to feel more hydrated. I want to spend more time with friends. So my new habit is going to be to go to a social thing once a week or once a month. Once a week sounds like a lot for social things. I remember if you didn't have something going on at the weekend when you were a teenager, it felt like you were missing out on life. And now I'm like, oh, it's been 3 months. I probably should do something. Yeah, I'm like, when was the last time I was sociable? I chatted to that person in Tesco's for 10 minutes. There we go, tick. Done. But yeah, so go through each one. And I also find that when you dig into each one of the habits more, you will really find if it really matters to you. And again, we're like saving time. If you don't feel like you've got the effort to write the definition of the habit, what the support of the habit's going to be, and your why for the habit, it's probably not a habit for you. Bit different for stop ones, because we're looking at them thinking, oh no, of course I don't want to do anything to help me stop this habit. It's a habit. I don't want to let it go. But definitely for the start and the stretch habits, we want to really make sure we're lit up by doing the exercise of defining what it is and how we're going to support ourselves, and particularly that why. The why of doing a habit really needs to light us up in the moment. It doesn't need to light you up every day, but when you're writing it, very much needs to light you up. Otherwise, it's just not going to be something you're going to want to stick to and make as part of your life. So that is the overview for part 2 for start, stop, and stretch. And like I said, with these ones, we're doing that sort of half an hour. I know I've whittled on a little bit longer, but that half an hour one. But I did put it in the calendar as an hour, so that sit sort of half an hour and think it through and start working on it now, or over the next day or so. And it's also why I think last year we did 8 days in a row, and that became too much. So that's why I'm doing the 4, and then you've got those 3 days where you can sort of catch up and things, and then the 4 again. So don't feel like you have to hammer it all out tonight and things. But hopefully sparked a few ideas to get things going. And if you want to wait for the pretty PDF to print off and fill out, then you can do that, and that will come out tomorrow. Finally got paper in tray empty today. I don't normally have a paper in tray, so the fact that I had one, it's sorted into its piles, which was one of my goals, priorities for today. So I've got, don't get me wrong, it's not all sorted, but it's not all finished, but it's empty. So I've got like a cattail. I've got my little pile of things that still need to be actioned, but one of them I've got to wait 3 days to do something. And then I've got some things that need to be filed into the cabinet, but it's not just a massive heap that I've been adding to for the last 6 weeks anymore, which is great. So I have desk to work on tomorrow, which is awesome. So I will be doing my exercise tomorrow morning. But thank you very much. Any questions specifically on this? No, fabulous. I will sign off, and then I can have a little chat before I go. But thank you very much. I will see everyone again tomorrow. So it's Monday through Thursday this week and next week. So the 4th is the first Monday, the 11th is the second Monday, Monday through Thursday, 7:30 p.m. and roughly half an hour each evening. and I'll see you soon. And this will be in the membership tomorrow. Well, actually, anyone else watching this will now know it's in the membership tomorrow.